Victor and Libby Boyce both join us, and I just want to say how very sorry we are for your loss. And before we talk about all the grief you've been going through, can you talk to everyone a little bit about the joy that he brought to his life and to the life of all of those who knew him?
Yeah. Cameron was extremely effervescent. He loved life. He was very talented. He had so many friends and acquaintances that he touched. He was very caring of other people. He was just a joy. We used to say he got a little pixie dust because he was just a special human.
He was like a magnet that just drew happiness. My sister would say the party didn't start until Cameron came in because it didn't. And he just got everybody going, got everybody dancing, got everybody singing. He was just fun. And, we just miss everything about that.
How are you both coping with this today?
It's minute by minute. I mean, honestly, sometimes I just black it out of my mind and forget, and then I'll smell something, I'll see something, I'll hear something, and it just takes me right back in. Mm-hmm. Pictures, the Lakers, anything that he liked, anything he didn't like, which wasn't much, would just bring me back to that. And it's just, it's hard. It's become part of our lives that we can't get rid of. So instead of trying to get rid of it, we're embracing it and trying to do something positive with it.
There was so much positive, both of you, when you speak about your son. It's all good. Mm-hmm. And that's rare. That is a huge tribute to the two of you and to him. And
it was 20 years of the best time ever. Mm-hmm. And so I can't disregard that. Like, it was a blessing.
It's such a profound loss. You never get better. This is not something you get better from. Mm-hmm. This is something that you learn to live with. And you either, like Vic said, celebrate it and find ways to honor him, which is how we're approaching it. But every day is very, very hard.
It sounds to me like Cameron was overall pretty healthy, other than he'd had 4 epileptic seizures. And had you all ever heard of sudden unexpected death in epilepsy?
Never.
No.
Never.
What treatments, if any, was he on?
He was on a medication called Keppra. Mm-hmm. So when he had his second seizure, he had a total of 5 seizures in his life. When he had his second seizure, they said he had epilepsy, and they started him on the Keppra.
Keppra is an anticonvulsant. Mm-hmm.
And that's like the one thing they actually found in his blood, so we know he was on his Keppra. Mm-hmm. But we had not really been well educated about epilepsy by the doctors who diagnosed him. We definitely did not know it could be fatal. I mean, we assumed it could be fatal if you fell and hit your head.
Mm-hmm. Right. That was our word.
So you were always very conscious of also, hey, Cameron, you're not going to go swimming in a pool all by yourself because you know that if it happened, then he might drown.
Exactly.
So, but you weren't thinking that he would go to bed one night and not wake up from SUDEP.
That was not a thing because we didn't know what it was. Our problem has been that we didn't get a whole bunch of explanation or feedback or help or what to do during the time.
What things might be triggers, how you actually change, life changes to adapt. We weren't given any of that education.
But I think that there can be maybe a false sense of security. Mm-hmm. That, hey, it hasn't happened in a while, no big deal. And I think that your story is highlighting that it can be a very big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we had no idea it could be fatal, obviously. And epilepsy is so common.
It is.
Like, there's so many people who have epilepsy, but there's so little talk about it. There's so little information. And I think for us, it's really important that we share our story and that we help doctors, hopefully, who are listening, and people who are living with epilepsy to get information and to share information. You can be armed with information, and you can, change whatever issues you need to, if you have triggers, there's so much information that's important to note. And, I don't know that had we had any particular information about Cameron that it would have changed the situation, but I do feel like it's so important that people who are living with epilepsy or any chronic issue get armed with information. They need that.
And you want to know, in fairness, the reality of medicine? We host this show called The Doctor's been doing it for 12 years. When we went to medical school, SUDEP was not a thing that we discussed. And so, ironically, this show at times is a platform to talk about these things, because not only are patients sometimes out there unaware, but even physicians. SUDEP, I guarantee you there are physicians watching right now who had never heard of that.
And that's why we're joining forces here and creating a partnership with the initiative of No SUDEP Now, is to really bring awareness to everyone, patients, their caregivers, lay people in the community, as well as the physicians that are treating people with epilepsy.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Cameron Boyce Foundation that you've started?
Sure. Cameron was working on so many things, and he was so philanthropic that we just immediately were like, we have to continue. And so we created the Cameron Boyce Foundation, and we are working on multiple issues. Epilepsy sort of at our core in terms of what we can bring in terms of awareness, just because, he doesn't have that voice now, we have that voice, and we have a responsibility to bring information out to the community in his honor. And that's what he would want us to do. And then also the water crisis. And he was working with the Thirst Project, which you just showed, and he was getting clean water wells built in Africa. So we're just continuing his work as much as we can and getting as many people involved as we can.
This may not mean much, but on this show we talk a lot about finding purpose and meaning in life. And I wish I had met your son, because what I'm learning is that in his 20 years, he found more meaning and more purpose in his life than most of us will ever find. And his legacy will live on in the two of you, and we are just blessed and honored that you would share his life with us here. And,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're going to have more information about SUDEP on our website and how you can raise awareness. Just go to thedoctorstv.com. I thank all three of you so much for being here. And again, so very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.